to the fact, because he explained that, his statement, he referred to the fact that the school, when it was built in 1964, and now provided structural, it was a good school structurally.
Right.
He also went on to say that there were many deficiencies in terms of space.
Right.
He noted the fact that there were 10 modular classrooms on this facility, and that it needed considerable work.
Right.
Similar to Parthenon.
Yes.
It was
Well, he might have been the same guy that wanted to know if the bachelor school was still standing so they could do their statement of interest.
Yeah.
All right?
I think
Was he
one.
the same gentleman, maybe?
If we had hired an architect.
Yes.
Right.
Right?
Yes,
So
we
one
have.
of the issues the issue we have is, as Chuck said, right now their charge is complete. They really can't go much farther with this. And the question is, Steve, as our representative on the committee, Dr. Troughton, what do we do next? Do we tell the committee to go on vacation for 6 months? Do we come up with a new charge? Do we re-establish the committee as something else and see if members want to belong? And I guess I'd like to hear a little input from David, and then unless,
I heard from David just to clarify.
okay.
I heard from David the other night.
He asked me.
Okay.
All right? The only thing I want to say is, so I get this on record, also a facility study was done on what has to be done between the middle school and the high school. And the town's going to realize in the next few years, they're going to be looking at something like $10 million just to fix some of the problems that exist here. Which, you're talking the heating system, you're talking the windows, you're talking part of the roof, and there's really no reimbursement for that.
Don't forget the septic.
Septic system, well, everybody keeps saying the town's going
Right.
septic, but
It's the sewer, right? We're gonna get the sewer.
you're gonna get the sewer, all right?
Yes, it's just one school.
Yeah.
Something else the town should not be running. But all I'm saying is, these are things that are not gonna be reimbursed. You may get reimbursed for a small project, but the rest of them, the town's gonna have to take it on the chin.
I think Chuck's right, and I guess my question to David, Chuck, and the committee is this, and I may be getting the wrong vibes from the MSBA, but when I walked out of that last meeting, I just had the feeling that they would be much happier if we went to them with some sort of addition and renovation plans rather than a new school. And I don't know if David walked away, but that was the feeling. They were telling us some things about these other projects, and I just started, me personally, getting the feeling that, wow, they're not very anxious to start building a lot of new high schools and middle schools. I could be totally off base. So that's one of my questions. Your charge may be complete, but do we look at another charge? And I'm throwing that out to the committee as a question.
You want Dr. Troughton to go on with what he suggested the other night?
Mr. Dribby?
My first thought is, and I haven't been to any of these
Right.
meetings
What do you do
with
with David said?
MSBA.
Right.
I'm getting everything filtered, but the realities of it are that they have a pot of money that they know about. They're not sure if there'll be more at the end of the road. They have a lot of work that needs doing in the Commonwealth. But at the same time, they have issued guidelines that say we're not supposed to decide whether it's a new building or a renovation. We're supposed to get them involved and tell them what our programmatic needs are, what our population needs are, and get them involved in the decision about whether it should be a renovation or a new construction. I was thrilled when the guy said that this was a great building for its period, because what he was saying was that he was endorsing what the Secondary School Building Committee had said, that this was the more sound structure, and that this one could be preserved and renovated, but that the high school doesn't really lend itself to it, because, well, a whole host of reasons. We rehearsed those a number of times. But the dilemma for the Secondary School Building Committee right now is that it's so hard to know what to do. There are people who are trying to divine what the MSBA is looking for, and the MSBA signals are so mixed, and people have worked very hard, actually, trying to keep some level of momentum going
Right.
with the Secondary School Building Committee. I think I want very much to take this opportunity to acknowledge the work that they have done, because they have tried very hard to meet our charge and to figure out what the devil the MSBA is looking for. And the MSBA has been slippery. It's very hard to pin them down. My personal feeling as far as a charge is concerned, I don't think there's anything that the Secondary School Building Committee can do constructively at the moment. I think David is looking for some guidance on long-term facilities. I don't think that should come from the Secondary School Building Committee. I think that gets a very mixed message. I think either the Secondary School Building Committee should be offered an extended rest, or it should be disbanded. And that's really a question of, when do you think MSBA will be ready to allow us to do more work? And I think I would be reluctant personally to disband the entire committee, just because we may need them back
Pretty
on a
quickly.
moment's notice.
Right.
And they've worked hard. It's been a good group of people. At the same time, I don't want them to feel that we're just keeping them on a chain. Do you have a preference?
Myself, I don't mind staying. I think we have to take a little time off just to see where the state is at. I am staying until the end, until you get rid of me, or I wind up where I bought my other piece of property.
And while neither of us can speak for everybody, I really think that's the way most of the members of the committee would feel. And if they don't, they can always resign.
Right.
So I think that would be
I would like
my-
to see the state finally, it just isn't North Reading though.
No,
I
it's
want to see the state do something with that money that they have there. I
They
haven't
spent it all in
seen,
Newbury.
I look on the,
Yeah.
I look under their website, and, every once in a while I'll pull it up, and they haven't really done anything, but I tried to get into one of their websites, and you have to be on their secret list, I guess, in order to get into that website that they have. But nothing has moved at all since they started.
I think the problem with the process, not problem, but the way the process has changed, is it's almost impossible to give the school building committee a charge, because we don't know what the state's gonna come in and tell us we have to do. I mean, that's what you alluded to. The way the process has changed, they say, we'll come in, we'll meet with your building committee, we'll meet with your administrators, et cetera, and then we'll come up with an idea together about what we're going to do for your district.
I have a question for David or Chuck. I see the need to keep the building committee ready at a moment's notice to submit the plan, because that's the best long-term solution to our problems.
Yeah.
But at the same time, years are going by, and, the septic we need that next year, without a doubt. And there are other issues, like you said, such as the windows,
Right.
which are not efficient. So is it in conflict if we were to put in place a facilities committee that would take these capital projects and submit them for reimbursement? Are we allowed to do both?
Yeah, you can, you've
Can
been
we
talking to them
pursue
more, so.
the short-term capital needs and still have a long-term building project on the books
That's a difficult
with
one.
MSBA?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is a very difficult
Yeah.
one. I would have said a year ago that would have been possible, but remember back in July, when there were so many of these statement of needs which were evaluated, they put each one of those statement of needs through a filter. Was it a reimbursement, a simple capital project like a roof or boiler, all the way to, was it a new building? And they had over 400 of those. So then they came back in July to each community and said, pick one. And it was that one statement of interest that became the priority for that community and for MSBA. For us, it was the Batchelder School, even though we got agreement that we didn't prioritize one. We actually prioritized all three as important. Once they got those prioritizations, one from each community, MSBA then put each one of those into a further category. So for example, the batch, along with I think 7 or 8 other communities, were put right up at the top and labeled project scope investigation. So Manchester is there, Beverly is there, their high school, Bedford is there. At least in Bedford's case, and the Batchelder School is one of those, that several of those projects are either, as with the batch, complete or substantially completed. And yet, we're still providing paperwork to verify that we will have met all of the new guidelines retroactively. So for example, I had to, we're about ready to submit a list of, they give you a list of the school building committee of what the new guidelines for a school building committee. And we had to retrofit our old elementary, our current elementary building committee into the slots that they're saying anyone new would fit. So for example, I don't think if we get to that point on the secondary project, we will have to reconstitute actually our own policy to reconfigure the building committee in order to comply with the regulations. They require, certain town people on it, and other membership that is not currently in our own policy. I've talked with superintendents who were given the green light, not as a project scope, but the next level down. They were told they could go ahead and do a feasibility study. Some of them have just started to go out because they're really at the forefront, they're at the starting point to begin to think about what a feasibility study would be for the project. But they haven't been given any money for that either. Other communities, for their priority, they were told, we need more information. So go out and do some more work, maybe an enrollment study or a facility study. You see, with the secondary building committee here, under Chuck's leadership, we've already done all that. But yet, I don't anticipate even getting ready for MSBA to advance us and give us any kind of green light. I thought it would be this spring, but I'm just,
think so.
given where we are
Given
on
where we're at,
Batchelder,
right.
I don't think,
Right.
I would be very surprised if we saw something this spring or even in the fall.
So even if there is reimbursement for major capital projects such as septic systems, if we were to submit that, we might actually be bumping the whole building project
I-
out of the.
That,
I
but
believe so.
I'm not so sure that there are communities that was their only priority.
Right.
And therefore, they got on the
Right.
list.
Right.
So in order to even, let's say we went to do a roof project and we thought that was the better solution, right now, under the structure, we couldn't, there's no mechanism to
Right.
submit that.
Okay.
The one thing that I want to say, and was encouraging to me then, and it's less encouraging now given the pace of things moving, is that the head of the MSBA in one of our meetings, and I think Chuck was at this one, said that North Reading had some of the worst crowded conditions in its secondary schools that they had seen. So that gave me some hope that they would move us along. I think the issue is in general, as Chuck said, it's not just North Reading. The thing is really going pretty slowly.
Just spinning their wheels right now.
Jerry?
I think my concern is too, that we get into this mode, which we may have to do out of necessity of fixing certain things, like septic or windows or roofs.